All right, everybody. I hope to God we are ready for some point and click adventures. Doesn't everybody love point and click adventures? Mod, don't you love point and click adventures?
Oh, I'm very partial to point and click adventures.
Oh, that's good. In fact, I know a good way that you can usually get people to get excited for point and click adventures, and that's to throw out some gifts here. But I've got a couple things that I want to go out over before we do anything. Quest for Glory, it's a point and click game. We all know point and click games. They're known for their moon logic and their weird items and all sorts of stuff. Well, Quest for Glory is a Sierra game that does things a little bit different. It adds magic and other RPG elements to the mix, and most of them are in PC game. So most point and click games, I'm sorry, you're looking for like a puzzle solution that's like a rabbit's foot mixed with a fire alarm to open a submarine, some really moon logic out there stuff. Well, in Quest for Glory, you might just be able to cast an open spell to get that open, or pick a lock, or beast mode it and go through 5 guys to get through it. And there are multiple solutions available to nearly every puzzle, which makes this series a little different. So, and as you use your skills, you get faster, you get better, you're able to hit harder, hit faster, hit more accurately. And what that causes is that for speedrunning, we have a ton of actual routing that needs to be done, and it's a lot of fun to get into it. I'm going to be running the any percent no stack glitch. I know it says any percent there, but we've just kind of recently changed up the categories. There are cheats, there are exploits that can happen before the timer starts, and while I am a scrub in many respects, I definitely want it known that I like my exploits to happen after the timer starts. So, by the way, you can pick up all 5 games that we're going to be talking about here in on GOG or Steam. They're great beginner speedrunner games, as you're about to see, and they pay off. And now that all the preliminaries are handled here, which class has won the bid war?
I'm just closing that one off and refreshing my site just so we have any possible snipes in. And the class was sniped at the last second with the thief, no winning.
My favorite class. It's the one that gets the most play on stream, so I'm okay with this either way. It's actually the fastest of all the classes also. So, and what's the hero going to be called?
The hero is going to be called Hero Boy with capital H and B and a space.
Like that. I think that looks about right.
Like that.
All right, perfect.
Like that.
So let me go through this real quick here. The first Quest for Glory game. Your objective is to save the land. You're going to rid the valley of some brigands and also save the whole place from an ogress. You collect a bunch of items. You do side quests. You make a potion. You raid a fort. You get a good ending. Instead, you're going to see me do none of that. I am going to be doing absolutely none of that. Thanks to a combination of metagaming and some programming oversights, it's going to be much faster. Casually, this game takes a few hours to complete as you figure out which puzzles and where to go. I'm going to be quiet for about 2 minutes as I work on this. But in order to show you the difference here of the way it is, you actually have some stats that you can throw into here. And what we're going to be doing is taking magic and strength of 40. And there are some technical reasons that I'll go into for why. But let's just say that magic is the end-all, be-all solution to all of life's problems in Quest for Glory. So I'm going to hit enter and count down. So we are ready to go in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You're going to hear me pound the keyboard a lot because this is an old text parser game. And we're going to grab some, whoops, already clicking wrong. Lots of safety saves. Ooh, good luck there. Saw the monsters chasing after me. And what you'll see here, I'm down stacking. You can actually type in some commands here. That's going to be too fast. That might be too slow. That is too slow. And that's why you safety save in this game. Lots of little commands to remember along the way. Move chair, move candle. Don't forget the safety save. That'll be good. And we are in the second to last room now. And the final room. And that's Quest for Glory 1. That's how fast that goes. The reason I needed to focus there is because there's a lot of things going on, but that is Quest for Glory 1 in glorious 16-color EGA. And I have about 4 minutes worth of ending now, and it's unavoidable as far as we know, because at the end of this run I have to spam the Enter key to export my character, which is the key feature of Quest for Glory. Hero Boy is going to be going from Quest for Glory 1 to Quest for Glory 5, and he'll be the hero of all lands, or the hero of none, depending on the game. In other words, I got about 4 minutes to just explain what the heck just happened, so that way you lets you also know what's coming next. There were pretty much 4 exploits that I used to combine to what you just saw. The first is what we call the Fred skip. In the earliest version, the 16-bit or the 16-color EGA, we can skip getting a secret password, and it allows us into a passageway that cuts out quite a bit of the danger of going to the Brigand Fort. And once you know the password, you can just type it in version 1.0. It saves about a minute if it's done right. It's not too much time saving. In fact, none of them are, you'll see. The second is the Minotaur skip, and while routing the tool-assisted run for this game, C-Squared discovered that dealing with the Minotaur is completely optional. If you move fast enough and clever enough, you can just get past him, totally undiscovered for 30 years, just waiting there to be found. That saves about 30 seconds. Third is the dagger skip. Even though I didn't use a dagger, I still call it that. I also called it the Wesley glitch. I named it after my second son. I was grinding runs, he was sitting on my lap, he moved, he bumped my arm, muscle memory kicked in, I misclicked, I discovered that my character wasn't glued to the floor anymore, and I could actually move around. There's some little minor stuff that can go on in there, some funny deaths that can happen that are definitely not dev intended, which is also fun to watch, but in this one it leads to the fourth exploit, which is just running out of the room. Because we can unlock our character in the Brigand Leader's room, we can exit the game, or we can exit the room, and the devs didn't expect this. So when you run out of the room through the proper exit, it triggers the game to think that you actually successfully completed it. You would think that that throws the whole game into disarray, but actually it only stays about 4 minutes. And it gets us out of the game with very few stats, and those very few stats are going to be key later on because we are importing into a game that's expecting us to have much higher stats. So we have to find clever ways to get around the problems. There was a VGA remake done of this game in glorious 256 colors. And the funny thing is, a lot of the code from this game actually comes out and is used for the remake. So a lot of the same glitches exist, but even with this 4-minute wait, this is faster. Now, the second game we're going to be running is Quest for Glory 2. It was a licensed remake that was done of the old EGA version that I'm going to be using, done by a group called AGDI. It's free online, just search QFG2 Remake. And on top of being gorgeous with way more than 16 colors, it's got the added benefit of just being faster than the original game, despite having no major skips. I'll talk about that as they come up. But one of the benefits of this remake is, because I have magic, when I import this character into the remake of Quest for Glory 2, the game generously bestows upon me 4 additional spells. And all of these spells are useful and used in different places. Here's the save. That quick. And I'm just going to close out there, and I've got to move some folders around and kick on Quest for Glory 2, which should be right there. Import. Notice Thief. Hey look, it's our old boy Hero Boy. Exciting. Alright, we're going to go in with magic, and I use the simplified settings here, and this is going to be a little bit of shock because there's quite a bit more colors in this world here. We have moved from one town to another. We are now in the glorious city of Shapir. We were brought here by people that we normally would have helped in the last game, but completely skipped. But the first thing you need to do anytime you come to a city where the currency isn't the same is that you need to come and actually exchange your money. It's one of the neat features of this game, is that each time you go to a new world, you have to deal with a new currency. And we should be good here. Let's just get forward. And the nice thing is that we receive the rewards for doing all the things that the game thought we didn't do. So we have more than enough money to buy everything that we need for the entire game, which is one of the benefits. So you will see me click around here, change some settings. I have to ask this guy manually about incense because they did not include a way to make sure that you continue to have the incense there. I think I may have bought something I didn't need, not a big deal. And now we're going to go buy the most important item in the game, which is a map that lets us warp around the world. So, as I'm doing this, this might be a good idea for an incentive or two if you've got them.
Wonderful. We do have a $25 donation by Brutask without a comment, but this was the donation that decided that we would go for the Thief class. So thank you very much for that, Brutask. And let me please remind you that ESA Together is a week-long online marathon that will feature speedrunners and score attackers from all around the world. We invite everybody, be it ESA regulars or first-timers, showcasing their best for you. ESA Together is supporting ESA and or other affiliated events' increased costs this year connected with the coronavirus. By donating to ESA Together, you will be supporting the future of ESA. All donations will go directly towards supporting the running of future events for you to enjoy.
The first thing we need to go is to Night 6, and we'll see that, oh look, there's something attacking the city. What we're going to do is use the incense to lure it into the hallway here, and put a lamp down on the ground, spray some water on it, and that's your ingredients for a magic lamp. That is the gimmick of this game. This city is under attack, and it'll be under attack under different games, or under different days, by different elementals. The first one is fire, and we are now headed to day 9, where the air elemental is the big bad that we got to deal with. So that was day 7. This is day 8. A lot of the game involves sleeping whenever you're doing an any percent speedrun. We are skipping most of the game. There are 500 points that you can see up in the corner. I recommend taking a look at what it actually looks like up there at the end of the game to see just how much we skipped. This is the magic shop, and we're actually going to do some more purchasing here. So we're going to buy Force Bolt. And I should have just enough to get them all. Oh, no, I don't. That's okay. Okay, I'm missing the levitate spell, and I need to reload my save because I should have bought that one first. Now that I know that I need to be a little more careful, I might be able to get them all. This is why you safety save in these games. If I hadn't safety saved, that would have been a restart right there. Let's do 24. Let's try it again. You can barter in the game, and if you have a good enough communication spell, you can usually pull it off correctly here. So I think I'll be able to do it. And just from bartering, I was able to get everything that I needed now. I also have no money left, which is fine. You don't need money. Money's more of a suggestion in these games, by and large. So we're going to levitate up, and that's the reason we needed this, is that we needed to drop the dirt that this guy gave us into the funnel of the air elemental, and hopefully not screw it up, and use some bellows that we stole in the middle of the night to suck him up. And now we have magic bellows that shoot air at anything we want, that we will only use in one spot. Day 9 progresses to day 10. Makes sense, doesn't it? And the next one we're headed towards is the Earth Elemental, which happens on day 13. This should be day 11. I want to just make sure I get my days right, with lots of safety saves along the way. Day 12. And day 13. If I were to progress past day 13, I die. That's pretty much it. Even though you can get away with stats and some things that are going on in this game, you still need to be careful that you don't run into the dreaded automatic deaths of the Sierra games, because they are there waiting to kill you. Alright, let's see here. This should be it. And here he is. I'm going to try to do a quick kill here. It does not work very often. I'm not quite sure why. We do a kamikaze attack. He runs away. Sometimes I can throw a second bomb and kill him in one go. I don't know what actually causes that to work. But you see how low my health is? I'm going to have to do another kamikaze attack, but now I'm actually going to take a step back and throw the item. And he's going to dodge and completely juke me. That's really funny. That has literally never happened to me in a speedrun before. That's what is supposed to happen. Oh, gosh. Safety saves. It's going to be the key, the theme of this game. Earth Elemental is taken care of. We scoop them up in a bag. We are now headed over to day 14, which is whenever, just one day later, the last Elemental, the thing in a desert that you'd be most likely to want, is the thing killing the town. This is a water elemental, and we are going to use the bellows that we got earlier and a water skin to trap it. And now we have saved the city from all 4 of the Final Fantasy elementals. So the only thing we can do now is find another place to save. So I am going to rest until it is time to move. And on day 17, we move to a second city. And, well, that's wherever things pick up. I'll talk about that in a second here. If you have any donations anymore, that might be another good time for it.
Wonderful. People, please don't forget that if you have Amazon Prime, you have access to Twitch Prime, giving you a free sub to any channel. Why not subscribe to ESA and have access to our amazing emotes and sub badges now? We did hit our subscription total of 800 subscriptions, but why stop there, right? So please, if you have any Twitch Prime subs left, please support us that way. It doesn't cost you anything, it helps us, so it's a win-win, really.
Nice. I know I used my Prime and then just ended up buying a bunch of subscriptions for people over the last week. It's been nice to be able to hand that out. And I figure this has been a great cause, and it's nice to see, it's just kind of nice to see everybody coming together in a time whenever things are just looking just screwy out there. So, to recap what's happening, we exchanged our money that we got in our last game. We bought some new spells we're going to use now and later. We defeated 4 elementals. We're the hero of the city. We're heading off now to a sister city, and we have been attacked by brigands in the middle of the desert on our way there. What could possibly happen? We will find out after the intermission. It looks as if we have successfully managed to handle all problems that come our way. We are a real beast for somebody with no stats. In the original EGA version, funny enough, there's actually an exploit that allows us to skip saving the city by bypassing all 4 elementals, so we just leave the city to its own devices as we run off to handle the bigger problem. You would think that that would make the older version the faster one, but no, because in this city there is somewhere in the range of about 6 minutes of completely unavoidable downtime. I am going to save here because there is one thing I could do here. Nope, we're just going to do it. Okay. If I misclicked on that cup, it's a GG. Like, I would have to reload and watch that whole cutscene again, but I figured why not. Normally, this would take about 4 minutes to get to what you're seeing now from arriving. This is the biggest reason that we run this game, is that it skips all of that, this version. There were just quality of life additions that were made that just shut the time down. It really, it takes, I think my fastest run in this is actually faster than the tasks of the EGA game. So it gives you an idea of just how much savings there is in this game. This is actually a pretty infamous scene. I could have bought x-ray glasses earlier and got us all Twitch banned, but I decided not to. We could have seen through that as she changed into us. And now we have become a hero by allowing her to escape the city. And we are going to sleep through the rest of this day because it's a useless day. And now we are being carted off to jail for crimes of being a hero. There's actually quite a bit more to it. Jafar from Disney's Aladdin is going to be meeting up with us soon. In fact, once we get around this corner, there's our buddy. There he is. He's going to talk to us quick. A lot of comparisons in this game are made between Disney's Aladdin and this game, but the funny thing is that this game predates Aladdin by 2 years. I like to think that Disney stole this from the Coles, who are the creators of the world. So, all right, I am going to safety save here. Open this. And there we go. jump across. That log in the EGA and this remake is very scary, and here actually comes the scariest part of the entire run for me. It's one room. Here we go. Notice that fire coming up right there. That is just the right amount of time, and we're good. We should be okay. I am going to fall off a cliff. Suleiman. We have to mention a name, a password that we've learned through various points of the game to get through that treasure room, and now we are looking at the genie Iblis, who is really who we're supposed to stop, but Jafar ends up not being our friend. How are we going to get out? He's blocked it. Well, we have a genie of our own who's in a ring. Happens to be in the right place at the right time. He's going to give us 3 wishes. I'm going to wish for lots of magic ability. So I'm going to wish for intelligence and also magic to be safe. And both of those are going to be used for Quest for Glory, let's see, Quest for Glory 3 specifically. That's where things really get crazy. So we're going to raid the castle by using all of the magic that we've picked up or did not pick up in the first game. Decided to not do it that way. That's interesting. Let me go back and do this a different way. It's a way I like to do this that is more thiefly and less nice. So, all right. He's going to come down this way. We're going to safety save here and do a plunging attack on him. Use the open spell again to get through to the room. Escape from the guy. He's doing his thing. Instead of handling anything, we're just going to kill him, and that's the end of Quest for Glory 2. This game is so much faster in this version, I can't even begin to tell you how fast. That last section, literally, I mean, we're talking 6 minutes, but then also the credit scene probably adds another 2 or 3 minutes trying to export the game, the character for Game 3. This is much faster, because even the stuff in the credits can be skipped. And notice my points, 214 out of 500. We barely did anything. In fact, if I was really there might even be a couple points that I could have skipped if they were faster. Which really lets you know. Oh yeah, okay. You have to get the bonus points for winning, of course. Now we're at the award ceremony. Everybody is talking about how heroic we are, and to be fair, in this game we actually were pretty heroic. The cats from the first game don't have much to say. Nope. Okay. She doesn't want to say anything either. And here is the Sultan. What is he going to do? Not say very much, and then hand us some metal. To be clear, what I'm doing is I'm holding the escape key and it skips all the dialogue, which is something you could do in the remake, but not in the original game. Another reason we use this. But now it's the time to export our character again. I want to be careful here and make sure I get this right. Okay. Now we're coming over to Quest for Glory 3. Alright, import. Notice I named my character Zero.save. Thief, and Hero Boy is back for another round. We get 50 points to put into it, put into stats. I am going to put them all into magic again. You will see why. The second game is done. There's a recap. We're in the land of Fracana now, which is obviously based on Africa, as you'll see. For thieves, this place is exceptionally quick. For wizards, there's RNG to handle. For fighters and paladins, I was terrified, because this game is a gatekeeper to end all gatekeepers for me. I'll explain what I mean by that whenever I get there, but let me just say I'm very happy that the fighter was not chosen, because I have had nothing but problems with him all week, and pretty much my whole life. So, first thing we're going to do is run out into the savannah rather than doing anything in town, which is what the game intends. And you'll notice that there is a actual world map, which is different from the other Quest for Glory games. A world map with RNG encounters that can slow your time down. What I'm going to do is run off screen. So you see my character walking along here, and I've used the arrow keys to move them off screen. You're not really supposed to be able to do that. And I'm going to wait for it to be night. and then sleep through to morning. While my character is off screen, random encounters don't happen. It allows me to bypass all random encounters, so I don't have to worry about running away from monsters, and I could just waste time. And wasting time is what we need to do. We need to get to the end of day 2, where we go to a peace council that allows us to move through the game a little bit faster here. So this day is literally just me moving this character back and forth on the map here, asking everybody how they're doing, how everybody's enjoying face masks and other things that are going on in the world right now. Normally what we would be doing here is buying, training, doing some puzzles that are around this area, and instead, once the day hits a certain point of the day, and it's about there, we automatically go back to the inn, which allows us to continue on. And the next day, we are heading into the peace conference, or the conference. I guess it's not so much a peace conference as a war council. They asked me to swear an oath. I said okay or no. I'm not really sure what I clicked there. But we are heading across the savannah, and you see I have a friend with me this time. He has us on autopilot. I'm going to do a safety save here, because if I don't, bad things happen, as we learned. There is a glitch here, and you're going to see it any second. And I have now taken control of this caravan. Normally, you're supposed to be on autopilot all the way through the savannah to this village. We're going to completely skip it. Time is now frozen, because time is frozen when you're in a caravan, and there are no encounters as I travel across the savannah with our paladin friend. We call this the DDD, David TKI, who's probably in chat. It's named after him, the David's Do-Gooder Ditch Glitch, because he's the guy who found it accidentally. And since there are no more encounters, let me try to quickly explain this. That was an accident there. At any point, because I'm in the scripts of following someone, I can move to the last screen of the world map. It will re-engage a follow that I have on this screen, and it actually kicks off the events of the end game. This glitch saves, no joke, about 15 minutes off of the old routes that used to use it. And because we're not rushing to the end of the game, we are not nearly as powerful as we should be at this, because we are rushing to the end of the game. Your max stats for this game are meant to be 300. Just to give you an idea of where I'm at, my strength is 40, my luck is 10, my dodge is 5. 300 is the max. I think you start a new character with something like 150 in these areas. We're weak. We could probably get one-shot or two-shot by most of the bad guys in this game at this point. Most easy enemies will two-shot us. Some of the bigger ones could one-shot us if we're not lucky. And there are ways to avoid combat in almost every single route if we're playing this game normally. But we're skipping so much of the game that all of those are no longer open to us. So we have to go through one combat that we'll see. Used to be 2 combats, now it's 1. Oh, let's go here, run, oops. Notice it has a rope attached to it. The game doesn't expect you to not have a rope at that point, so it just works. This is an automatic encounter that we can't avoid, but we can glitch it out, and this is the most recent exploit that's been found. I'm going to cast the Levitate spell, I'm going to go down, and I'm out of the world map and it cancels the encounter. We used to be able to just run off screen. That takes probably about a good 2-3 seconds there, maybe a little bit more. And we are at the last place of the game. Notice the temples and all the sprawling jungle around us. We're going to say goodbye to our monkey friend that we hardly know, and sneak into this building. To give you an idea, I ran this game back in 2016 for RPG Limit Break, and I ended with a very fast time of about 1 hour and 33 minutes. Since that time, my record for this category is at 57 minutes and change. In just 4 years, we've managed to shave off over a half hour of run in this. So this is a very casual run at this point for once we get past this next hurdle. These demons will stomp a mud hole in us, so we're going to calm them, which makes them yawn and sleepy. We're going to cast Open, which gets us through the door over here, and as far as they're concerned, nothing happened. But this is the fight that we can't get away from. I am going to chug a mana potion, because magic is going to be our savior here. And here's combat, and what combat looks like. And I am going to alternate back and forth between stabbing and magic. Because if you deal damage too quickly, the damage doesn't actually register, and you can end up just dying. If I stab too quickly, my stamina is so low that I'll run out and I'll kill myself. If I run out of magic, this guy will probably punch me to death. But by alternating back and forth at very regular intervals, we can manage to kill this guy without running out of magic and without having any problems. And this used to be the major gatekeeper for the run. This is the major gatekeeper for the run whenever it comes to the fighter and the paladin. Because they have this fight, which goes pretty quick because we throw most of our stuff into weapon skill, but also they have to fight a gargoyle after this that is just an absolute monster and is an RNG nightmare that can make or break your run. And this is the last time you really want to have anything make or break your run. Alright, let's see here. Now, what's happening now is that we were tasked earlier with finding this lion tar. That's the daughter of the lion who was at our celebration ceremony at the last game that we didn't talk to. If we were doing a paladin run, we would have talked to him. But we were supposed to find her and also stop a war. There's a lot of little subplots going on. And along the way, you meet all of these people. Notice we have not met any of these people. The nice thing about it is that we skip having to deal with any of these people, and that is, of course, a way to save time. The fastest way to be a hero in Quest for Glory is to just not be a hero. It's to think about every way that you can get out of being heroic as you can. So whereas normally you solve racism and war between these two, and you help a thief regain his honor, instead we are going to leave all the problems of this area intact and just try to do our best to get to the next place. It really makes you laugh when you think about it. It's actually kind of horrible when you think about it, too. Now we have the classic mirror match. And this is a glorified cutscene between our doppelganger. Our stats are so low that the thief from earlier should just pop right out and kill this guy after I do a couple. There he is. Normally, you have to be losing that fight. Well, the game thinks I'm so low that I am losing that fight already. And there's one more skip for the thief that we do in this game. One more exploit. Now, it didn't work there. It never works for me for that first time. And that's not going to work. That work? No, it's not going to work. Sometimes, it's going to work. Notice I am now running around the world outside of the borders, and this is the place you would normally go to do the last action of the game. And what that skips is climbing up this and throwing a rope and doing a hurdle and throwing another rope and doing another hurdle. It just skips so much just by walking out of the bounds of the game. And we dance now, because we have completed Quest for Glory 3, and this is going to be continued in Shadows of Darkness, which is the 4th game in the series. That's going to take me a couple seconds to import there. If we've got any comments, or if you want to do any shout-outs, this would be the time for it, Mod.
Wonderful. I do want to shout out the upcoming bid war for Quest of Glory 4, which is about saving or killing the Gravekeeper, the Gravedigger. We are currently still at $40 for saving him and $0 for killing him. So if you want to change that up, get your donations in right now. And, well, another great way to support ESA is by telling people about us. We host multiple speedrun events throughout the year and are constantly growing. Don't let people get left behind. Get them on board with ESA and tell some people about us.
Perfect. We are now in Quest for Glory 4, and we have been whisked away, thanks to dark magic, to a land that we have no items with and nobody in. So this is kind of the dark side of the games, the darkest run of the series, and therefore, in my humble opinion, and it's usually a group consensus, this is the best of the series. It had, well, let's see. It had a notoriously short development time, so what it's known for is being exceptionally buggy. I'm going to not save any time during this because autosaves are actually pretty quick in this. What I'm going to do in the next room I'm holding here is I'm going to actually hit a key that is a developer key that was left into the game, and it's going to break a bunch of scripts that I'm going to explain. So here we go. Oh, I can double cast one. Nice. And there we go. What that does is casts the fetch spell in the middle of another sequence that's going on, and that only works in that room. There is no other room in the game where it works, but what it does is has the benefit of locking down time. So again, time is completely frozen at this point. And the game still thinks it's night, so there are night enemies that are coming around, and the gates are closed as if it's night, and what I'm going to do is float over the wall, and because my character thinks it's night, I'm going to rest. You may have noticed I did some 60-minute rests on my way to town. That was in anticipation of this rest. Rather than starting the game on day 1, we start the game on day 2 now, and it skips an entire day's worth of just clicking through and waiting to go to bed. Now I am setting up some preventative measures for avoiding some glitches. That's why I went into that guy's room and didn't do anything. This is our purchasing place, and even though we don't have any actual money from our previous games, we've picked up enough already along the way that we will not need to buy any extra things during the game. No extra rations, no extra items. We have enough to get us through the entire game here. That's good enough. But the game's routing is actually pretty tight. And yet, funny enough, this is actually the only game that we do not have a mega skip for. This is our Wind Waker barrier for a good point of reference. I'd like to take this personal opportunity. I have an open bounty to anyone for like 250 bucks, I think it's up to right now, for anybody who can find a way to mega skip this game that in a way that will actually work for import runs. So there's my pitch for it. But this game, it was notoriously buggy, and one of the funny things about it is that it's the only game that we can't seem to break. We pretty much do everything that is intended with very little exceptions. That was actually a really good puzzle, really fast. Alright, we're going to ask the scientist who doesn't believe in magic about magic. He's going to give us a spell that he doesn't believe in, and we're going to meet up with him 2 more times on later days. It's important to mention that this game is actually voice acted as well, and this is a really strong game for voice acting, especially considering the time period that it came out of. I always thought of voice acting in the early 90s as something that was kind of janky. This game's voice acting is just spot on. They nail their lines, they nail the mood. John Rhys Davies does the voice of the narrator, and Jennifer Hale's in it as the big bad. And I am going to, speaking of big bads, just kill this guy off with some spells here. Because we are now in the swamp looking for the first of 5 rituals that are going to release the Dark One. And the Dark One is the big bad, kind of this run. He's kind of the bad guy that's floating around in the background of everything. And we've got our first one here, and I'm going to rest in the swamp for 12 hours. 4, 5... 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It is now night. I'm going to start gliding again. This is the spell that I got from the scientist. It lets us just float over the swamp. Otherwise, I'd be doing like acrobatic hurdles all through the air to get across this. Or if I was a fighter, I'd be trudging through the swamp. But magic very often is the solution to all of life's problems. We're going to use these nice little fireflies here to start this puzzle up. They're not fireflies, actually. They're the souls of children. that we're lost in the swamp. This game is dark. Remember, I said that. And by spelling out the name of the big bad in the area, we now have another ritual. They're right next to each other like that. Now, it is night. Night is a dangerous time, so I'm going to run over here. That is a monster there, but by triggering that monster, it resets the encounter clock, so that way I can move on to the next... Let's see, so I can move on without having to worry about random encounters, because random encounters still happen in the forest. And I need to talk to this ghost and learn about who she is, so that way I can reunite her with her husband. And you can only do that after meeting her 4 times and then asking her her name. We're going to come up this way. There's another monster here, resetting the encounter. And we can get through the entire night without really having any encounters that way. Sometimes you get one, but not usually. And we're going to sleep until morning. Here is, if that wasn't a busy enough day, things actually begin to pick up a little bit more here before slowing down and then rocketing us to the finale. So, it's now day 2. And like our hero who's trying to reunite a husband and wife, this is the ghost's husband who's been looking for her. He's gone senile, and rather than escorting him, he went nuts after his wife died. I mean, I can appreciate that. I've been married long enough now. But what ends up happening is that, like a good hero, we just let the old man wander into the woods, rather than escorting him to actually meet her. I don't know how I really feel about that, but it tends to be the way this game works. We'll meet up with that couple later on, because he is going to provide us with an item that we need, one of the maybe pieces of moon logic in this game that is necessary to complete it. That's our second visit, but rather than leave, we're actually just going to wait and sleep until the next day right here in his hallway, because this is the fastest way to handle it. And I don't really need to count this. I'm looking for a visual cue. And it should be coming up here probably in the next 5 or 6 of these. The game's day and night cycle is one of the biggest things to deal with and worry about as you play through the game.
You're getting tired.
That's the visual cue. That is 1 hour before midnight. It is now the next day, and we get to face up against the most dreaded thing in all of video gaming, the copyright protection of the game. And thanks to Dr. Google, this kind of thing never works anymore. So, Laxabiff is the code, and Laxabiff is Earth. Earth. Notice our 5 elements. Our 5 elements are earth, air, fire, water, and pizza, which is the perfect balance of all 5 elements, as we know. Yeah. He says that's the right one. We give him what he wants, and he gives us what we need. So, it's now night, and we are going to pick up another one of these Darklands rituals, and we're going to be coming up on the cutoff for the save or kill the gravedigger any second here. So now that we've fed this guy, I need to make sure I rescue that Domovoy. I'm sorry, I need to remember something I forgot to do in the last room, but I could do it on the way out. This is where we're going to cut off, because you're going to see what is a glimpse of the future here as Cthulhu comes barreling out of the mountain. Just gives you an idea of what we're looking forward to. Absolutely frightening, especially when you don't have the right stats. Alright, we have another ritual. By coming down in here, we've managed to take care of the cult, and I'm going to refresh this little guy, which was the whole reason for doing all that swamp business. Hopefully it doesn't crash. Good. Sometimes the game crashes there. Oop. We're going to go up by levitating into a hotel room, an inn room that we do not own. And we just stroll out, and nobody seems to have a problem with the fact that we came out of a room that we didn't pay for. Now we've paid for it. We're going to come back out and notice everybody has already gone to bed. We talked to this guy twice, and for whatever reason, that allows us to get this doll out. And what we are going to do then is do another very heroic action a little bit later with this doll, where we lure a little girl out of her room at night and into the woods, so that way we can kill her best friend. I don't know. That tends to be the way this one goes. All right, this is day 4. I'm going to double check, make sure I have the right days here. This day's useless. 2, 3, 4, 5. Are we going to save or kill the Gravedigger?
We are going to save him.
Oh, good for Igor. That is actually the dev intended way to handle this. Most walkthroughs of the game will say that you need to save the Gravedigger. You actually don't need to save the Gravedigger, but the game actually even assumes that you do save the Gravedigger, because even if we allow him to die and loot his body, he shows up later on in the game, or actually at the end of the game, during the victory sequence. But now, the Gravedigger is missing, and if we were going to allow him to go, we would be waiting until night to break the gypsy out. There's a gypsy that has been captured around town, and they're talking about him, and this is really where the game actually kicks off. They give you a few days to explore the area and get your bearings and figure out what's going on in the world. And then day 5 is kind of where the game says, all right, it's time to get going and be a hero. So we have now used our open spell to save Igor the Gravedigger, and we have to go back to town to hear that the gypsy has been saved. And once we do that, we will be welcomed into their camp as a hero, which is the next place we need to go. All right. The man in the window is the Burgomeister. He's essentially the town sheriff, and what he does is releases the gypsy. He never actually thought the gypsy did it, but he had to hold somebody accountable, that kind of thing. And now that he's released him, and you have to hear that he's been released at the window, otherwise you run into a soft lock glitch. There's a workaround, but it's not very obvious. And we're invited into their camp. And if there is a skip to be found anywhere for that 250, it would probably be right here. Finding an early way into this camp would be a great, would probably save about 5 minutes off this run. 5 to 7 minutes, I would guess. My sister says that looks like Gaston from Beauty and the Beast, continuing with the Disney theme. Oh, I don't know which one came first, Aladdin or Beauty. Probably not important. Alright. We have to visit them 2 more times, and she is going to tell us about a spell that we need to know. She's actually already taught us a spell as well. So, Arana, Staff, Destiny spell. That is what we are going to use to lure the little girl out later on, which is really the kickoff for the end of the game. Most of tonight is spent in the woods, handling problems in the woods. So we're going to rest until night, because all the fun stuff happens at night in this game. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Don't need to count. It'll turn night, Paul. It's okay. And look, rather than keeping the senior man alive by escorting him so he could meet his ghost wife, he instead wanders into the forest and gets himself killed. But at least he's reunited, so that way we can get his hat, which is really what matters. And we have to deal with this bush. There's a whole puzzle sequence solving this that we are working our way ahead of. Goodbye, bush. I'm going to cast the aura spell, try to autosave, and it don't have to. And here is the last combat. And I should be able to get him down enough. Come on, game. There we go. Close enough. You'll notice that was a side-scrolling, side-to-side kind of Street Fighter style. The devs were actually playing Street Fighter 2 on the Sega Genesis when they were making this, and got the idea to put in side-to-side combat, which actually works out pretty well. This is the Ogress from the first game. The one that the game assumes that we defeated, but we really did not. And we end up in this situation where it's kind of awkward, but we've got to ask her for some help. And to there, and we are going to make her a pie as a apology. This actually skips a dialogue sequence in the game, and we get a little bit farther in, a little faster. She turns this into a hedgehog. She turns this into a frog in the original one. And we give her the pie. Her bats convince her to not kill us. And we can ask her for a gnome's humor. Didn't know we knew a gnome. It's because we don't know a gnome. I've recently gone through the version 1.0 disc version of this game, and what I've come to the conclusion on is that a lot of the patches that were meant to fix the game actually ended up breaking it in other ways, but it made the game a little easier to complete. Quite a bit easier to complete, because there were a number of places where it just couldn't be won. You had to patch the game almost immediately just to get through it. But now we are headed into the crypts and up into the castle to meet up with our little girl. Some puzzles, B-O-R-G-O-V. Spelling out the name of the castle people in colors is the solution to that one. Heading up. Oh, because I'm a thief, all the doors in here will be locked. Luckily, we have the open spell. There are differences still between the different classes, and one of them is the fact that if you're a fighter or a wizard or a paladin, these doors are open. But if you're a thief, you're expected to have a lockpick set. Well, we have something better. We have an open spell that is broken. These bats would attack me, but I'm going to cast Calm on them in the area, and we are going to skip this fight. Routing through this castle is pretty direct, but there are some differences in the 100% run. If you're a thief or if you're a fighter, I believe that there might be some differences here. One of the nice things about casting the open spell is that I auto-pilot through all the rooms. One of the not nice things is that there's this little animation that adds a little bit of time on. And this is the last room, and she should be in here. And this little girl is... I said she was a little girl, but I didn't say she wasn't horrifying. Here, listen to this. Listen to this coming up.
Who is it, Toby?
You're going to be thinking about that all night now. We've given her a doll. And we are going to tell her about the staff. And this big monster that's next to her, her best friend, is going to sacrifice his life to bring her back to life, because she's a vampire now. When I said we were luring her out, that was only half the truth. We are. But she was kidnapped or rescued by a vampire, and we are the people that are bringing her back to her parents, which are actually the innkeepers. And you better believe that if there are vampires in this game that we have just taken one of their own, that they are not happy with us right now. So, what we need to do here is come down here. He tells us that he thanks us for saving her, and then promptly makes us pay for our room. By the way, that's just coincidence of the way the days landed, but it always makes me laugh. This is the gnome that we need to give the bar to. So what we're going to do is here, we're going to come in here. 1, 2, 3. We need to visit him twice, and on the second time, we will automatically give him the bar that we received from Baba Yaga, which is the key item that you're expected to give him. It says night there. Nope. Not quite night enough. That should do it. That didn't do anything. Good. Now on the second time.
Did I tell you about... And the gnome. What?
And what happened was he happened to be telling some jokes about Baba Yaga, who was the ogress that we helped out with the pie, while she was in the audience. And he didn't realize that, and she cursed him with bad humor. Well, he already had bad humor. I'm known in the community for being probably the only Sierra speedrunner that we know of that doesn't like puns. And call it a character flaw. Maybe I just have good sense of humor. I don't know. I'll leave that up to my punsters in the chat. But by restoring his humor, he taught us something called the ultimate joke, which is the last key that you need to unlock that note that was in our room waiting for us. And it tells us to meet Katrina, who is the woman who we skipped at the beginning and haven't talked to, at the castle. Well, it's our old friend from the second game, Jafar, Adavis. And he's been turned into a vampire because, surprise, the vampire who's in charge of everything is actually the master that he was calling out to at the end of the game. He's locked us in a room, and what he's trying to do is actually kill her and get us to do his dirty work for him, because he can't. He's under kind of like orders to not do it. Can't disobey the master. And here she is with her exceptional hairstyle.
You! What are you? How dare you?
Yeah, I know. I didn't mean to scare you. Now we get into the part where this run had to be probably a later run. And she is making us apologize for taking her daughter, because she was the one who kidnapped the little girl. And we have now agreed to get her all 5 of the rituals. Now, by the way, I am going to try to safety save again and mess up, but it looks like there's a gate here. This is one I always like to show off. There's actually no gate here. The game forgets to draw the geometry right there, and you can just walk right up to the castle. But we need to leave, come back in, and notice the gate is now open. It's because we are now headed to the end game, and Quest for Glory 5 is coming up here pretty quick. Now, remember when I said this was the only game that we didn't have a mega skip for? It's kind of funny because we actually start only 2 rooms away from the final room in the game. And if we could find a way to get ourselves into that room, well, we'd still have some problems, but at least we'd be a little closer than we already are. So, first thing I'm going to do is stealth, something I haven't done very often. I'm going to float down here because we need this book, which is going to teach us one more ritual that we need. And if we don't stealth, we wake that guy up, and then we have to do a fight, which we would win, but we don't want to have to do because it takes time. This is the first room we were in the game. We have to kind of do things in order now. That's what a ritual looks like. Each room has a puzzle that is... You do the ritual, the room tries to kill you in some way, and you get out, and you can proceed to the next room. And what we are doing in this area is reinvigorating, actually bringing back to life the Dark One, the guy on Bald Mountain that we saw in that cutscene. By going through these different rituals she's forced us to do, but this is really the only way to seal him off for good. So again, we are actually going to be heroic. Now remember I said that each room has a puzzle you're supposed to go through, and while this room does, we actually found out that you can pretty much just walk out and not do the puzzle, and it works, as long as you use the hand to get around. It's a little oversight there. But one of the things that also happens is that I have to keep resetting my character to run. Like here, we have to blow in air into an organ of sorts. And we hear different notes playing, and we have to play them in the right order. If we don't play them in the right order, we die. But if you've noticed I haven't been doing safety saves nearly as often, it's because Quest for Glory 4 is very, very good at giving you autosaves whenever you enter a room that you could die in. Very good. And now we've activated this room, and we're going to crawl on the 4th wall, because we're a thief, and it gets us out. The next room's my favorite. So much to do.
You feel totally numb. Can't see anything,
Feel anything,
hear
hear anything,
taste anything, or even smell anything. Is this totally senseless?
Nice pun there. Notice everything is gone, and as we go through the room, we get our senses back. And what we have to do is navigate all the way up around here and end up here. Well, we're not going to do that. We're going to bring out the ritual. We're going to click where the actual ritual stone was, and we're going to run out of the room, and the game is going to think that we completed the ritual successfully. And we're not even going to do the last ritual. We can actually just float up to the top and get ourselves and start. They forgot to program in the check just to make sure that you did it. This is possibly the greatest ending in video games that I can think of, just off the top of my head. We are now in the heart of the Dark One, of Cthulhu himself. His name's Vuzel in this. And we are watching a wizard battle between vampires. Meanwhile, like the spells are flying back and forth, and the woman we might or might not love, depending on how we play the next game, tells us it dies in front of us. And now we are going to tell this vampire a joke, pull out our wizard staff that is going to turn into a spike, and do a plunging attack onto him. Now that's heroics. I don't know. That just seems heroic. And we click up here. And that is Quest for Glory 4. That's the last action that we take before exporting our character. We are heading into Quest for Glory 5 after this. We're going to skip all this dialogue. If we had killed the Gravedigger, I'd have showed you that he was still alive and well, but... Alright. Shadows is our save file.
The save character file has been...
I'm just going to cut that out there. Go over to the directory for it, and copy over this game into Quest for Glory 5. And you are going to get to see my screen here for a second, because this game does not like playing well with others. So, Quest for Glory 5. I'm going to turn the sound down a little bit, because we talked about that. And hopefully this is not too loud, but this game does not play well with other systems. Hold on, it's still running there. Let me reboot. There we go. And I must not have copied it to the right directory. Inception. That's what happened. I copied it to the wrong directory. Okay. There it is. Notice Hero Boy the Thief. All of our stuff goes into magic, because like every time, magic is the thing that saves us. Here we go. Final game. Casually, this game takes hours and hours to beat. With no major skips, this game takes about an hour, maybe a little less to beat. With major skips, my record for this game is 5 minutes and 5 seconds. It is much faster once you know how to skip a lot of this stuff. I'm going to cast the open spell here and get through the gate, and you'll see me come over here, save my game, just in case, and cast Frostbite, a spell we learned in the last game, or automatically gifted, that is pretty much the win button. It's an area of effect spell, and you may have heard a little jingle that says we actually completed some sort of task there, received some points. Well, what we did was we killed an enemy that is off screen, and what that enemy does is triggers the events of the end game. So all we're going to do is go to the palace, and we are going to skip about 50 minutes worth of any percent, no major skips content. Here we go. And we are told that he is going to come back. We get a full health restore, and then we just run right back in, and we are off to the end game now. Killing that one enemy off screen is all it takes. Really makes me laugh, actually. Now he sends us off to the end game to handle this problem that we have. I'm going to stop sneaking, because I don't need to sneak. Because magic is going to get us through all the problems in this game. And Frostbite is not just useful in that scenario. Ooh! I might need to reload here. Alright, I may have just going to reload. What happened is that that monster was a little too close, and you can't cast the open spell while you're in combat, and all of my spells are designed to keep me out of combat and get me through rooms fast enough so that way I don't have to deal with combat. Tried to do a quick workaround, it didn't work. Sorry. There may have been one other thing I could have done there, and that was killed the monster that was actually causing the problem. But by that point, the rest of the spell probably would have worn off and would have had problems.
Can we get a short message in then?
Absolutely, yeah, because we're just going to do the same thing again here, so that's perfect.
Wonderful. So, with the bit more of save or kill the Gravedigger out of the way, the next donation incentive would be showing the ending cutscenes of the Mist Anthology. We are currently 25 out of $50 in, so another 25 is needed. And do you know what $25 also can get you?
Ooh.
That's right, one of the 3 HyperX headsets that we have as our prices. So if you donate $25 over the whole marathon, so if you've already donated like $10, it's only $15 away. You can get one of 3 really cool headsets. And you're also in for our other prizes, which include a mousepad, and a French indie game bundle. So if you want to have any of those prizes, please keep your donations coming.
This game is usually not this bad at fighting me on this, so I'm going to try to handle some of this problem over here. Alright, I think we got it now. Whew! I usually don't have problems like that, but if this were a world record run, that would have been a GG for me. But luckily, we get full refill in the next room. What I did in this room was cast the Calm spell. It makes all of the monsters actually stop moving, and whenever I cast Open on the door from the ground floor, I can autopilot all the way up. And let's get ourselves some healing items here. Cast Calm spell again. Use that. I'm going to cast the Open spell here, or the Frostbite spell, and automatically kill that guy by pausing the game. The spell still does damage while the game's paused, like Fred in Blaster Master. Well, this is an unskippable cutscene here. He is pretty sure he won't be defeated, and that he's going to destroy everything, and that both of us are going to die. He holds a prophecy stone in his hand. When it breaks, the Dark Dragon is going to rise. It's going to destroy everything. Well, you hear the guy. He doesn't care. He also doesn't know I know the Frostbite spell, which is going to kill the dragon very quickly. But while no one can stop him, gravity cannot be stopped. And the floor does its work. So he has now broken the only thing holding back this dragon. Ooh, didn't know I was going to use a coin there. For 2 things I got to do now. I got to search this body here, and I got to search this body here. And what happens is, a rat is going to come up over here and whisk us away to the last fight, where I will quickly safety save and ask these people to help me restore a pillar. And I am going to go for a quick kill on this dragon. Notice Elsa runs off into the distance here to try to help the problem. She will only end up causing more trouble. I am going to cast the Frostbite spell from this side. I'm going to ask Gort to sacrifice himself. Oh, buddy. We are going to get the perfect quick kill on this guy, and that doesn't happen very often. This is the reason I put this Force Bolt spell. She's worried about the dragon getting caught loose. I'm just doing backward circles around a fire here, because all I'm going to do is wait for the dragon to show up, and I'm just going to pelt him with spells from long distance and kill him. What we've done is we've actually glitched the game into ending the problems a little bit sooner. And there goes the spells, and there goes the kill, and the dragon's dead. And time is whenever I accept or reject the crown for king, and that's coming up right now, so... First we have to dance in victory, as all good heroes should do. And we are now king. Time. I have no idea what that was, but you see, experience points, puzzle points. Now, it might seem like more, but Quest for Glory 5 has 1,000 puzzle points that you could get. And we have not done nearly as much. In fact, here's everything that we did. It's like 8 items. It's kind of tradition on marathon runs now to look at the to-do list. So this is what we did. This is what we did not do in the game. Just to give you an idea of just how much we did. We can export. There's nowhere to take Hero Boy 2. But I will happily post Hero Boy somewhere for someone if they would like to at least have Hero Boy with them. And that is the Quest for Glory series. That's all 5 games, and it's a great starter RPG to get into, a great starter speedrun, because I mean, you can just beat a game really fast and just get to learn it. So I always recommend it. It's a game that pays off dividends the more you get into it. Special shout to my Discord server, thanks to my wife, and if I could also say Happy Easter to everybody. Funny enough, I'm a United Methodist pastor, and I have Easter services tomorrow that I'm at least going to be preaching at, even though we're all going to be social distanced. So it's kind of nice to be a part of this and helping out in the meantime, but also to be able to wish everybody a happy Easter ahead of time. So that's all I got, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. PR Miller, for this run. It was really entertaining. And I mean, running 5 games in a row seems kind of tough. I mean, the time's okay. The time's good for 5 games. I mean, it's really good for 5 games if you think about it. But I mean, I don't think it's the easiest thing to do. So we really appreciate your effort, and we really appreciate you running this for our marathon. So coming up next is Azure Striker Gunvolt. My shift here is over now. I'm going to give over to Xonaris for the next few hours. I hope you enjoyed the time with me, with our runners, and I sure hope that you enjoy the upcoming runs. So we will go for a short intermission, and then we will be back.
Awesome.